Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, but for some reason, women just don't seem to notice you? Maybe you've been the nice, polite guy who always tries to please, only to realize in the end that they prefer a different type of man. I know how frustrating that is because I've seen it happen countless times. In fact, a friend of mine went through this recently. He was attentive, did everything he could to impress a woman he liked, but in the end, he watched her walk away with a guy who barely seemed to care. That made me reflect. What really makes a woman feel genuine attraction? It's not looks, it's not money, and it's not even being the funniest guy in the world. There's a psychological detail that makes all the difference, an invisible trigger that separates men who spark desire from those who are just friends. And when I discovered this, everything started to make sense. It was like cracking a code, revealing a secret most men never realize. And look, I know this might seem unfair. After all, why do some women feel instantly attracted to certain men, while completely ignoring others? The truth is, there's a pattern behind this, something that affects the female mind on an almost instinctive level, triggering a desire even she doesn't consciously recognize. And the best part? It has nothing to do with appearance or social status. It's about a psychological strategy that any man can use. But before I tell you exactly what it is, I need to show you a mistake that almost all men make, without even realizing it. And this mistake is what keeps most guys from being seen as irresistible. I bet you've done this without knowing, and that's exactly why you need to pay attention to what comes next. One thing that has always intrigued me is how some women seem to feel instant attraction to certain men, while others, no matter how hard they try, are completely ignored. Have you ever noticed that? You can be well-dressed, polite, show interest, and yet nothing happens. Meanwhile, some random guy walks in, barely making an effort, and she's instantly fascinated by him. It seems unfair, but the truth is, there's a fundamental difference between these two types of men, and that difference has everything to do with what I'm about to reveal today. The reality is that most men try to attract women the wrong way. They think they need to be super nice, show that they'd do anything for her, or even try to impress her with status and gifts. But do you know what happens? It goes unnoticed. Or worse, it makes her lose interest. And I know this can be frustrating, because so many guys genuinely believe they're doing the right thing. But there's a key factor that separates the men who create desire from those who are just a secondary option, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Now think about this. Have you ever been in this situation? You tried to show how amazing you were, but it seemed like the more you did, the less she cared. If you've been through this, one thing is certain. The problem isn't you. The problem is how you're approaching the interaction. Women feel attraction for certain behaviors that most men don't even notice. Small details that make all the difference but are rarely taught. And the worst part? Most guys keep making the same mistakes without even knowing why. What if I told you there's a psychological detail that can completely change how women see you? Something that suddenly makes them pay attention to you in a completely different way. That's exactly what we're going to talk about now. But first, tell me in the comments, have you ever been in a situation like this? Have you ever tried to impress a woman and failed to spark attraction? I want to hear your experience. Most men believe that women choose who they desire based on looks, money, or even luck. But what if I told you that attraction doesn't work that way? That there's an invisible psychological trigger, something that happens in the female brain automatically before she even realizes it? This means that no matter how you dress, what car you drive, or your status, if you know how to activate this trigger, women will feel an instant connection without even understanding why. And the most interesting part? This hack has nothing to do with playing hard to get, using mind games, or pretending to be someone you're not. Quite the opposite. It works because it triggers an instinctive reaction, a biological programming that exists in every woman. And that's exactly why so many men fail without realizing it. They completely ignore this natural mechanism and try to attract women using logic, when in reality, attraction happens on an emotional level. You know that guy who doesn't seem to put in much effort, yet women love being around him? He may not even consciously know what he's doing, but somehow he has learned, or intuitively applies, this trigger. And the great news is, this isn't some special gift that only a few have. Any man can learn to trigger this reaction in women as long as he knows exactly what to do. And that's what I'm going to show you now. How to activate this trigger naturally without forcing anything and without changing who you are. Once you understand this secret, you'll realize that attraction isn't a matter of luck, it's a matter of strategy. And the best part, most guys have never even heard of this, which means you'll have an incredible advantage. So pay close attention, because now I'm going to show you the mistakes that are preventing you from activating this powerful mechanism. Now that you know attraction happens instinctively, it's time to eliminate the mistakes that are stopping you from triggering this response. The first mistake, and probably the most common, is trying too hard to impress. Many men think that if they do everything right, give tons of compliments, pay for expensive dinners, and prove how great they are, the woman will feel attracted to them. But the reality is completely different. The more a man tries to prove his worth, the less interesting he becomes. That's because the need for validation signals insecurity, and insecurity is one of the biggest turnoffs for women. The second mistake is always being available and predictable. It seems logical to think that the more attention you give a woman, the better your chances with her, right? Wrong. The reality is that predictability kills attraction. If a woman knows exactly what to expect from you, if you always reply instantly, are always free to go out, and never create any sense of challenge, she will lose interest. This happens because mystery and scarcity are essential for sparking desire. When something feels guaranteed, the human mind tends to devalue it, but when something feels rare and hard to get, interest increases. The third mistake is believing that money and looks are the deciding factors. Sure, these things might give you an initial advantage, but on their own, they don't sustain desire. Have you ever seen rich and attractive guys getting dumped or rejected? Exactly. What truly creates attraction is the way you carry yourself, the energy you project. A man who exudes confidence and purpose will always be more attractive than a guy who has everything but acts like he needs female validation to feel good about himself. Now that you know what not to do, let's get into what actually works. There's a simple step-by-step process that any man can follow to activate the attraction trigger naturally and automatically. And the best part, once you master this strategy, you won't need to chase after any woman because they'll start noticing and seeking your attention instead. So pay close attention to what's coming next, because this is the moment where everything changes. Now that you understand the mistakes that push women away, let's get into the practical solution. The psychological hack that makes 95.7% of women feel immediate attraction to you is based on 3 fundamental pillars: confidence, unpredictability, and just the right amount of emotional validation. The key is to project strong, masculine energy that combines security, mystery, and a touch of challenge. When a man knows how to create this dynamic, he naturally sparks desire without having to force anything. The first step is to develop a WIMO, magnetic presence, and that starts with confidence, clarity, and leadership. Women are attracted to men who know what they want and don't hesitate to show it. If you act indecisively, waiting for her to take the lead, you automatically lose points. But when you communicate with clarity, whether it's setting up a date, expressing your opinion, or even in the way you move and speak, you project an energy that makes her want to be around you. The second step is using the right psychological triggers, scarcity, and emotional validation. This means you can't always be available or act as if she's the only option in your life. When a man has an interesting lifestyle and doesn't put a woman at the center of his universe, she feels the need to win him over. And here's the key. Give her small moments of validation, but don't overdo it. If she feels like she has you in the palm of her hand, she'll lose interest. But if she senses she needs to put in some effort to keep your attention, her desire will only grow. Lastly, create mystery and unpredictability in your interactions. If a woman feels like she already knows everything about you and can always predict your next move, attraction fades. But when you mix moments of intensity with small doses of mystery, she becomes intrigued. Phrases that spark curiosity, like, "I'll tell you something interesting about you later that no one else has noticed," or "I like women who understand a detail that most ignore. Do you think you can figure it out?" Trigger her instinct to find out more. And when a woman is curious about you, she's already hooked. Now that you have the step-by-step method, how can you be sure you're applying it correctly? There's a simple test that can show you, in real life, whether your new approach is working, and I'm going to explain it to you right now. Now that you know exactly what to do, how can you be sure you're executing this strategy the right way? Simple. By observing how women behave around you. When you activate the attraction trigger correctly, women start acting differently toward you. The first major sign that it's working is when they initiate contact. It could be an unexpected message, a comment on something you posted, or even a random question. The point is, when a woman takes the initiative, it's because she feels the need to be in your presence, and that never happens by accident. Another clear sign you're on the right track is when she mentions that she feels special around you. This can come in subtle phrases like, "I like your vibe," "I feel so good when I'm with you," or even a simple, "You're different from other guys." This means you've successfully created an emotional connection, something that makes her see you as unique. Comments like these don't just appear out of nowhere. They are a direct reflection of your new approach and how you present yourself to her. Beyond that, you'll notice that she starts asking about your plans and trying to fit into your life. If before you were always the one asking when she was free, now she's the one subtly probing into your schedule. Suddenly, she wants to know what you're doing over the weekend, mentions places she'd like to visit, or even drops hints suggesting you should spend more time together. This happens because, in her mind, you have become a high-value man. And when a woman realizes a man has options, she makes sure she becomes one of them. If you've already started noticing these signs, congratulations. This means you're in control of your life and the way women perceive you. But now comes the most important part. What to do next? There's one final detail that can take this attraction to an even more intense level, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it in the next step. Now that you understand how to trigger natural attraction and have started noticing how women react to you, there's one last detail that can take everything to a completely different level, because sparking interest is one thing, but making a woman emotionally obsessed with you is something entirely different. This is where a hidden element of the female mind comes into play, something that, when activated correctly, makes her simply unable to stop thinking about you. Very few men know about this, and those who do usually keep it a secret. But I discovered how this psychological mechanism works, and more importantly, how to use it naturally and authentically, without playing games or resorting to cheap manipulation. This means that once you understand this technique, you'll never have to struggle to keep a woman interested again. She will seek your attention because something inside her will be triggered, and she won't be able to control it. Now, if you really want to have this power and understand how to make a woman feel irresistibly drawn to you, I have something special to show you. Click the link in the first comment and discover the secret that will completely transform your love life. But a warning, once you learn this, you'll never see your interactions with women the same way again. And before you go, don't forget, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here I always bring content that will give you an edge over 99% of men. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment below on what surprised you the most. See you in the next one.